Hey David, I'm going to go and break down why these pros are using so much counter rotation in order to get their spins on, off, the benefits and the cons, and why you don't see it too much in like traditional contest runs. So we already have your video of examples pulled up, so we'll play this when I go and talk through some of the principles. That didn't work. And yeah, so you'll see a lot of riders doing this and having super hyper exaggerated motions. Whenever you see arms wrap around the body like this, that means the rider is utilizing counter rotation. Whenever you're rotating your upper body and lower body separately, that's counter rotation. So the biggest result for that is seeing these hands come across your body. And you'll see that every time. Their arms start one place and then they come and get tight along the body. That's one of the main principles you can tell when someone's using counter rotation. And there's so many ways to use counter rotations. You can use them for 270s on, 270s off. I'm just going to make myself big now. Or you can just use it for like shifties, back shifties, bring it back. Basically anything where you're trying to go and finish your rotation. One of the primary ways that people use counter rotation is to continue the spins. Let me just lower down a bit. So say I'm doing a front side 360. I'll go and be under rotating, so then I'll cut and whack my arms around to counter rotate, speeding up the spin. Because you can generate a lot of faster momentum for spinning. But what happens when you use counter rotation is because you're going and snapping counter, it goes and stops your rotation speed. So if I was doing something like a 720, I snapped it, counter rotate, I'm going to have a very hard time continuing for the next 360. So that's why you don't see counter rotation used on big spins, because there's really no time to use counter rotation except for when finishing the trick. So if I'm doing any trick landing blind, say it's like a backside 1260, I'll be like constant rotation, and then right here to slow down, control my spin, I'll use counter rotation to lock it up and finish it, because it's a great way to get accurate movement. Your main question was for like, why are riders using it so much to get on and off the rails? Every rider is using it for like backward pretzels. Anytime you do a backward pretzel, you rotate and you counter rotate your upper body, meaning you need to use counter rotation off. Because you can't do continued rotation with a backward pretzel, because you land in backboard with rotating to the right, because I'm goofy, and then you go and need to pretzel it off spinning to the left. So that makes it a counter rotation based trick. We're pointing out some counter rotation where some people were doing backboard, same ways, but we were still utilizing a counter rotation. That's because they're landing blind. So because they're landing blind, they can hold it, let their upper body rotate. Instead of having their upper body continue the momentum, snapping it like a spin, what's really hard to do on longer rails, instead they hold that fully counter-rotated position, so then they can pop off and catch up with their legs. And it looks really steezy, but it actually is a way to make the trick easier, because you don't need to add the timing and continual rotation for your upper body. Instead, you're just relying on counter rotation to get your spin around. There is a few more use cases for it as well. One of them being for 270s onto rails. What's really popular right now is a trick called the back to pull. So that's where you're doing a backside 270, then pulling your feet back to switch. This trick needs counter rotation, because if you do a backside 270 and land with everything stacked, your momentum hitting the rail is going to continue, making it impossible to not only bring it to regular, but really hard to not 270 out. So if you're doing a backboard 270, if you want to do a back 270 with a 270 out, you'd go land flat, then use the rotation continuing momentum to 270 out. Very easy in comparison to going and stopping that rotation. So to stop the rotation, what we need to do is counter rotation, because just how if you use counter rotation to slow down your spin, it's going to make it so you can't continue spinning off a jump. It's going to do the same thing for a rail. So if I just spin that 270, my rotation's going. But if I spin 90, counter rotate 180, that's killing all of my spinning momentum, allowing me to go and lock in and then pretzel it back the other way. And the other things you're seeing for continued momentum tricks where people are getting laughed around is just speeding up a rotation. When someone's doing a front blunt, 450 out, the reason why they're going using counter rotation is to speed it up, because they can lead with their upper body and then counter rotate to get it back around. If you're doing a front board pretzel, it's a counter rotation based trick, because you're not able to go and generate momentum with rotating the other direction, so you need to rely on counter rotation. And then there's other ways you can use it too. You can use it on jump, stylish, like a 540, counter rotate halfway through, stall the rotation, then counter rotate again, just getting you more twisted and more fun. So the reason why all these pros are using counter rotation is because it's super duper fun. It's really usable. It's a good way to do tricks consistently. You can speed up spins. There's so many use cases for it, and it's just a really important aspect to all of snowboarding. So let's go with that in mind. Watch these guys go and rip the counter rotation one more time, and you'll hopefully see what I'm talking about here. So they pop up, twist up, getting that form. See how he's holding that spot? And then just boom, counter rotation. That's why you really see rail rats doing it at contests. You're good at spinning, you're good at momentum, and you want to land it. Counter rotation is a bit more finicky when you're relying on that. It's sort of easier to just continue momentum, keeping it going. This, the guy needs to speed up the spin, counter rotate. That one, his upper body, you can see. I'm going to rewind that one because that's perfect for showing it. His upper body here has completely stopped rotating. So see, he's paused, and that's why he needs to counter rotate so much, and it's such an exaggerated motion. So I'd actually call a lot of those counter rotated mistakes a sketchy, sort of not the cleanest way to do that trick because we overutilize counter rotation. I think the best use case for counter rotation is making it look natural, making it look easy. So if you're going and using so much counter rotation, you're getting wrapped up, your arms up here, that's not too cool. You want to look relaxed. Just popping in, using a nice counter rotation, popping back, smooth control, letting you get your tricks around. That said, it's a great principle of snowboarding and a great way to add style to basically any trick. So I encourage you, go play around with it. Do it on straight airs, do it on backside board slides. Board slide, counter rotate, pop back, 360, backside, counter rotate, finish the spin. There's just so many fun options. And the more you play around with it, the more you're going to look stylish and steezy on your board, and the more options that are going to open up to you. So use counter rotation, but you don't need it for every situation. It's just there's a few principles in place, and then there's a few ways you can use those principles to increase the style of tricks that otherwise don't need to utilize counter rotation. But it's one of the most useful skills to learn, so learn it, master it, and improve your style with it. And let me know if you need it. Any more advice or have any more questions? Shoo!